Going, Dawn? Thanks for doing this. A little off topic to start up. LA got the spot on the community service team last week. Just how impressed are you by that and by her efforts to get out in the community since she?
I mean, it's pretty cool award because it's service. It's service in other people, especially during a time when a lot of people need help. LA stepped in big time on the behalf of us and represented us well, and she got rewarded for it. I think so many times that young people are out here doing things that people don't know about and they aren't awarded. So it's special when they're able to get their flowers while they can smell them.
Matt and then Greg.
Coach, we're coming up on a year since we started this COVID pandemic. And I don't know about you, but for me personally, for the rest of my life, the lasting image of when normal was before COVID hit will be watching you and your team cut down the nets. That will be forever my lasting memory of the last normal. For you, what is that lasting memory for you of the final big moment you remember before the pandemic hit? And also, I do have a follow-up after this as well.
I mean, if we want to talk about the specialness of our team, but unfortunately, I kind of think about having to make that, those dreaded text messages and phone calls to our players, especially our seniors who were in a really good position. That's lasting because you young people were hurting at that point. So to have to comfort them and not really knowing what to say or what to do because it was so new, but just being there for them and giving them a space to be vulnerable and show, how much love they had for each other, and it came to a sudden end.
And my follow-up was, when you think about this past year, how have you changed personally and how have you grown in this past year?
I don't know if I've changed. I think I've approached it. I have an appreciation for the little things. And when your players, when they haven't been impacted negatively and they're able to actually play the game they really love and be rejuvenated by it because it was taken away from them. So I have a sense of love because our players got a chance to express themselves playing the very thing that they love.
Thank you.
Greg and then Eric.
Dawn, going back to Letitia for a second, we saw Destiny come off the bench, make a big impact last year, get named all tournament. And I believe Makia did the same a couple of years ago. I guess just how much do you think Letitia could play an impact in this week's tournament coming off the bench, and how much of a jump can she make?
I think she's putting herself in a position where she's, starting to play some of her best basketball. I wouldn't be surprised if she continues to put her foot down, especially in a tournament setting where you win, you continue to play, and you get more opportunity to spread your wings. And obviously she's got an incredible wingspan, so there's a lot of room for her to play her best basketball. I'm hoping it's just, the last few weeks have been the start of her doing just that for us.
Eric and then Dick.
Yeah, Coach. Last year, you guys were obviously robbed of a chance to play for another national championship with the COVID. Does that come up at all? Is that completely in the rearview mirror? Or have you used it all kind of unfinished business from last year as any kind of theme as you head to this year's postseason?
No. Last year is so much different than this year. This year, we're finding that everybody's playing a different role for us, whether that's Aaliyah, who has to take more of a leadership role, Victoria having to take a more leadership role, Destiny Henderson having to take over and be the point guard after, 4 years of Ty being our starting point guard. It is Zaya Cook playing a more integral role for us offensively and defensively. And then Bree Bill just, keep it in the road. And some nights she's having great offensive nights. Some nights she's not being as impactful on that end, but holding steady for the things that she does well defensively. And then everybody, Lily, I think, is playing at a really good place on both sides of the basketball. So it's a little bit different than what we left off at, but we just had a lot of room to grow in those players. Although our record doesn't indicate the improvements that have been made over the year, there have been improvements from all of our players.
Dick and then Mitch.
Greenville has been like a second home to you over the past few years. And I know a lot of the coaches have hated having to play you in Greenville. What do you anticipate it's going to be like this year coming in with the way things are now?
I don't know, probably much like what the season has been. An empty gym. Maybe we'll have a little bit more people than we've been used to playing this year. We feel very comfortable in Greenville. We've had some successes in Greenville, and we're hoping to add to those successes. But certainly we got a tall task in front of us that our players are embracing that challenge.
Mitch and then Greg.
Obviously, sticking with the theme of the SEC tournament coming up this week, Coach. What have you learned, obviously, through these losses? What has the team learned about themselves as you get ready? Some people maybe say that losses are good before tournaments, but obviously you want to win them all. You can't. But what has this team learned going into the tournament now?
What we've learned. The four teams that beat us. We were in the basketball game, but there's one possession here or there. We were in it. And what we've learned is we beat ourselves. Other than, probably, I guess you can add Texas A&M to it. Like, they beat us, but we also beat ourselves with our inability to execute offensively and be deliberate. So it just compounds what we need to do in those situations. And also, just from the very start, I just find that we take a little bit longer to adjust in bigger games rather than going out and being the aggressor. So, I told our players that, people at the very beginning of the game were squaring up on us. We're taking hits without defending them. We got to square up. And if they hit, we got to hit back. And, I think they're really having an opportunity to embrace it, but also an opportunity for us to be who we are and who we've been for most of the season. And that's the aggressor. And when we are the aggressor, it's worked out for us.
Greg and then Eric.
Dawn, you mentioned, I think it was after Tennessee, wanting to get maybe Destiny, not have to play her as many minutes. As you go into a situation where you're looking at hopefully 3 games in 3 days, is that something where you have to monitor that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, for her to be effective, and if we are fortunate enough to get to Sunday, it can't be with her playing 120 minutes. But here's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to us. Deliberate is a word that I'm going to continue to say. Just being more deliberate in what we want. So hopefully throughout the course of games, we can afford ourselves to give everybody a blow, all of our starters a blow, because, in order for us to win the SEC tournament championship, we have to rest. We have to rest our starters and not load them up. And we have to be more conscious of that in the moment, but we can't get down. They are our best pressing team. If you insert Lily into that lineup, they're our best pressing team. So hopefully we don't have to, find ourselves in a big hole to dig out of. Maybe we can get out and get a lead and substitute accordingly.
Yeah, Coach, how does Aaliyah kind of stack up against some of the former big name stars you've had during your time in Columbia? Or is it a little bit too early still, her being just a sophomore, to kind of really put a tag on her career? Is it too early on right now?
We talked about Elena Coates, and we talked about Asia Wilson in the same breath, in their sophomore years. She is, in the conversation by far. I think some things, she does better. Honestly, just being able to communicate and defensively, I just think overall she sees a lot more than Elena and Asia saw. Mainly because, we put a lot of pressure on Asia and Elena to score for us and to rebound for us. Whereas, Aaliyah, we're asking her to do it all. Do it all. Be a passer, be a scorer, be a rebounder, be a defender, be all things. And she's handled it extremely well. But I think also parts of her game have suffered because of it. So statistically, her numbers may not be as glaring as the other two, but she's asked to do so many other things that the other two didn't have to do at this stage of their career.
Dick and then Mitch.
Don, the postseason awards came out this week, and you had two on there, though. Did it surprise you that Destiny was not on the first or second team all conference with the year she's had this year?
Absolutely. I was surprised by that. But we have all surprises. I text her and let her know that, she may not have been on those teams, but it isn't, the contributor that she is, not only for our team, but for this league. I believe she's the assist leader in this league. And that's kind of hard to believe that the assist leader in the SEC conference in this particular year, is not on one of those teams. But you can look and say, well, who do you take off? I don't know who you take off, but more times than not, the assist leader of our league is on one of those two teams. There's also a little South Carolina fatigue when it comes to it all. And also, when you don't win the league, it takes away from those awards. So we have to put ourselves in a position to win, to give ourselves a chance, because when you don't give yourself as much of a chance to win those awards.
And we'll close it out with Mitch.
Yeah, Coach, I know you just mentioned to me that you guys need to be the aggressor and square up with the other team when you come out in the game. For you guys, especially now that it's do or die time in the tournament and the NCAA SEC tournament, how important is it to get off to that quick start, because it's only that certain amount of time for that game? There is no next game. Thank you. On mute, Coach.
Touch it, y'all. Maybe this book did that. Sorry. It's really important for us to get off to a quick start. We're a better team. We're a more confident team when we hit first. And then we're a lot more passive when we allow people to hit us first. And then we're playing catch up, or, people are getting momentum. And if people can play with us through 2-3 quarters, they gain confidence. So we have to do our job. Defensively, I think we're okay when we're not turning the basketball over. It's our offense and our ability to be more efficient. And I don't really like to promise, but I'm gonna promise you that we're gonna look like a different offensive basketball team come Friday night.
And Eric, go ahead.
Thanks, Diana. Sorry about that. Dawn, just curious as to what your relationship was like, how close you are with Sheila Foster, And even though this is you've kind of ushered in the golden age of women's basketball at USC, what is Sheila's kind of standing as far as, I guess, maybe arguably the first all-time great and still one of the all-time greats all these years later? Thank you.
I mean, Sheila's great. You know, Sheila is a Gamecock through and through. She's always at our games. She's always at our players. She's always yelling. She's always coaching. She's always in the stands. Like, they actually hear her, you know, mainly talk about boxing out and rebounding that basketball and being the aggressor. She is a Gamecock great through and through, and she continues to be that because she loves our program so much. And, you know, we've been in contact with her, especially when she's battled breast cancer, because Sheila won't let you off the hook. She'll text you, she'll call you, she'll say whatever's on her mind, and we welcome all of the advice that she has to give, because she's done it, and she's done it at a high level.